Hey humans, today we're going to talk about the drum sounds on my release that just came out today. The tune is called It Doesn't Need It. Here's a quick snippet of the tune. You can find it on all the streaming platforms, madeontape.bandcamp.com. All the links are in the description below. Today I'm going to tell you the story of how the drum track was recorded all the way through how it was mixed and processed as a mono drum track. It all starts back in April of 2022. This year, I invited my old friend Nahshon Seville to come to Mirrortone Recording Studios, and we just decided to fill up a whole cassette of his drumming. Nahshon is one of the first drummers I got to play with when I arrived in the city 8 years ago, and I am so grateful to have formed that relationship. I'm gonna put his Instagram handle right here. You guys should go follow him. Again, I invited him to the studio to mess around and record to cassette. The idea was just to record Nahshon and make music around the drums he recorded. Before we get to the mixing of the mono drum track, yes, mono drums, I'm gonna take you back to April in Mirrortone Studios. But before getting to that, let me play again real quick the raw drum sound that we captured on this track. Come over to the Portastudio. The raw drums are on track 3. Some of you with really discerning ears might hear right off the bat that this is not a single microphone drum track, even though it's mono. If you want to see a video about how to record drums with just one microphone, check this video out. No, my friends, not one microphone. I believe this was 4 microphones. Let me think about it from memory. Instead of trying to guess, I'm gonna play this video and talk about what I'm seeing as I'm playing it. Over to Mirrortone. Okay, there I am recording the drums on the Portastudio, and there's the Yamaha mixer, the Yamaha EM100. It's a very cool mixer with a very cool spring reverb. I got hip to it from Tim LaFave. I can see Nahshon, and I can see the M201 Bayer Dynamic on the snare drum. That's the RE20 on the kick drum. It's definitely my tube mic as the overhead. The 4th microphone is crotch position. That's the Omni dynamic mic that I have. Right here, we also see I brought a compressor. I brought a DBX compressor, and that was definitely being used on the snare drum. Look at the EQ settings. On the very left is the kick drum. So there's a bass boost in that RE20. The snare drum you can see is just a little bit of EQ cuts here and there. And it looks like I took out all the lows from the overheads. And then all that is going into one channel on the cassette. And you can also see this Echoplex delay pedal. I had the snare drum going through that pedal. And you absolutely hear that as a part of the raw drum sound on today's track. Check it out again. Listen for that Echoplex snare. So I have these cool, dirty, raw cassette drums. Now let me show you how I processed that mono drum track with the stuff you see right behind me. Let's go, let's get to it. So now we have this raw drums. I've got my EQ flat, I could beef it up if I want. It's pretty cool. It's vibey. It's cassette drums. It's not terribly uneven, but I wanted to smush it. So I'm going to show you some B-roll right now and show you my routing of the drums on the Portastudio. If you aren't hip to this, when you've recorded something onto cassette, the tape out is your mixing friend. So for this drum track, I get to bypass the original sound. So the tape out is coming out of tape out 3, which is where the drums are recorded, and that is going into my radial cube workhorse that Collin Stanley helped get at a pawn shop. This is why you make good friends, guys. I call it the 500 box on my patch bay. Check out my patch bay here. This is the input. The tape out signal, the drums, is going through this radial workhorse, and the output is coming out of the patch bay into right here, channel 5, which you can see the fader is all the way down. Watch what happens when I keep playing the drum track here. So that's what you're hearing. Now it's gone, right? Track 3, but check this out. There it is. So just to prove that the tape out works, The signal is coming into channel 5, and that's how I mixed it with the other instruments. Like, but we're not doing the full mix today. We're just talking about drums. And this isn't even the full mix. What you're hearing on this cassette is the original drums, the bass, and then a stereo feed of the synthesizer part that I came up with. And then I mixed that down to the reel-to-reel, and then I brought that into a different cassette, and then I added guitars to it. Probably a video coming on that in the near future. Back to the drums though. I wanted to smush it and I wanted to fatten it up. And luckily with the Radial Workhorse, it came with this DBX 560A compressor. Great compressor. And then in addition to that, I bought the DBX 510, the Subharmonic Synth. It's very dangerous. Be very careful with it, but it's very awesome. We'll talk about that in a second. Let's talk about compression first. All right, both of these units are bypassed. Let me put the threshold pretty high. Now let me unbypass it. So the compressor's not doing anything yet. Set it to about 4 to 1. Doesn't really matter. The output gain down a little bit. Now let's lower the threshold until it starts to do stuff. Hear that? Watch what happens when you really lower the threshold. So that's when you're overworking a compressor, which can be a sound for parallel. You know, totally smush it. See, look how a compressor can work as a limiter. So I like to dial it in about 4 to 1, doesn't really matter, until it's doing this. See how it's just getting the backbeat, the snare drum? Now I have the compressor dialed in. I'll show you on the faders the original signal with the compressed signal. Here's the original signal. Okay, now compressed. Obviously, a compressor is bringing in the noise too. That's what compression will do. But we like noise in tape land. That's kind of where I dialed it in. It's not super ultra aggressive because I wasn't going to do parallel compression. I tend to not like parallel compression with what's called a VCA compressor. Let me show you what that would sound like. So parallel means I'm going to have the original signal in, and then I'm going to bring in the compressed signals. Okay, now bring in the original signal. That's the original signal alone. Bring it in the compressor. It works, but when I think of like that New York style parallel compression, I'm usually hearing like an 1176 type thing, which has a lot more distortion in it. This compressor is very clean in a good way. It sounds great. It's not my favorite type of parallel compression. But there's another reason why I didn't want to do parallel compression on this signal, and that is the Subharmonic Synth. I wanted to add some fatness to it. The Subharmonic Synth is taking your signal and adding like an octave below. And there's 2 modules, I guess signals that you can mess with. This says 36 to 56 hertz, and then there's one even lower, 24 to 36 hertz. That is sub. So I say be very careful with this unit. You could blow somebody's face out of the water. This third knob is adding the amount of whatever signal you put in. This is the actual volume of it. So when this is all the way counterclockwise, there is no subharmonic synthesis, no matter where these knobs are. Does that make sense? The secret weapon also in this unit is this bottom knob called low frequency boost. So you don't have the crazy subs in it. So let's stop yapping and let's hear the drums through this thing. Everything's bypassed, everything's all the way down. We're gonna keep the compression in. So I'm dialing this one. This little meter shows you how much signal is coming in that's being affected. Now this is with the actual volume. Whoa. Sorry. Did you hear that? Did you hear that? Whoa. It got pretty extreme. Let me keep going. Let's bypass it. I brought in the low frequency boost again. I think I ended up somewhere like this. Barely bringing in any of the Subharmonic Synth. What a thing of beauty. So cool. Now just listen, I'll just bring in the other instruments so you can hear them in the context of the mix. Everything's bypassed. Bring in that compressor. And now the sub. Bypass him again. Pretty sweet. All right, back to you, other made on tape man. So there you have it. Let me know what you think. Could you hear the difference? I hope you put on headphones for this or played it through some speakers. A lot of low-end energy was added to that mono drum track. Let me know if you have any detailed questions about the session itself at Mirrortone Studios. I'm almost certain there will be more music coming from that session. Nahshon filled a whole tape, all 45 minutes. Again, the tune is called It Doesn't Need It. It is out today on all the streaming platforms. I'm gonna release a music video with it tomorrow. Or if you're watching this past Wednesday, September 14th, then it's already out. I'm curious if you'd like to see a breakdown of the mix itself. Please let me know in the comments below. First and foremost, as I've said a million times, to get great drum sounds, you need a great drummer, and Nahshon is a great drummer. He was so wonderful that day. I can't say enough good things about him. Go follow him on Instagram, and my good friend Collin Stanley, go follow him on Instagram. He was there helping out a ton. I hope that both the song and today's video topic helps give you the courage if you have never tried mixing down to just one track live on a Portastudio. Go out there and practice it. Go out there and have fun. Record it. It's gonna be fun and vibey no matter what you do. That's the beautiful thing about recording on cassette. Again, I hope you enjoyed it. As always, check out the links in the description below. But with that, as always, is peace. And be good to each other. And mono drums. Mono, mono, mono drums, mono, 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 mono. Mono, mono.